Hello, welcome back to Zekism. So, Marvel's Wonder Man has dropped on Tuesday just gone, Tuesday the 27th. Marvel dropped all 8 episodes on one day, which, you know, it's not the best sign of a TV show. You know, that historically Marvel has done that when they're not particularly confident people are going to like what they've done. Nevertheless, you go into it with an open mind. I know that was absolutely sure, but I think it's fair to say that this is probably the least excited I've ever been for a Marvel TV show. Look, for no other reason, mostly, that the promotion for it has been really lackluster, or maybe not even there in some. You know, they released a couple of trailers and a couple of TV spots, but very little money has been spent in terms of promotion to it, and it's being dumped on the same day. So, historically, we've been sensitized to know that means that Marvel's not particularly confident that people are going to like what they've been doing. However, Wonder Man, you go in with an open mind, which is what I did. So put on episode 1 and I thought it's fine, it's there, and nothing, not a lot to hate, not a lot to love, and I thought, okay, it's fine. It's the plot of the show is basically Simon Williams, played by Abdul-Mateen. Let me get his name right before I butcher it. Abdul-Mateen, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Thank you. Who's really good, by the way. Loved him in as Black Manta in Aquaman, the 2 Aquaman films. Really liked him in Candyman. I think I've seen him in a couple of other things, and so he's a cool guy, really good actor. So he's playing Simon Williams. Simon Williams is essentially I don't know how to describe it. Very, very quiet and unassuming guy, very socially awkward, and there are reasons or potential reasons as to why he is socially awkward or very protective, you know, very, very insular. And so that leads to a very sort of self-centered and very sort of socially awkward guy who's trying to become an actor, or trying to make it as an actor in Hollywood, right? That's the premise of the show. And through, scenarios, he essentially befriends or comes a cropper to Tony Slattery, the Mandarin, played by Sir Ben Kingsley, who, I'll be honest, I've got a spotty history with. I have not enjoyed his portrayal of this character. I find it quite annoying, to be honest. Maybe it's because I'm British and that portrayal sort of, I'm familiar with the accents, and it is an eye roll. As good of an actor as Sir Ben Kingsley is, I've never been a big fan of this character. However, this is probably the most likable he's ever been in the MCU for me. I think he actually has quite good chemistry with Yahya, and so the two characters sort of, you would never put them together, but they work. I think their chemistry is quite good, and through very convoluted means, essentially a famous director whose name escapes me, it's in canon, so it's in the show, it's not for real, is remaking Wonder Man, a TV show, or a superhero TV show or movie from the 80s, and so there's a sort of meta comment in there about remakes and superhero films, and I was expecting more from what I'd heard about the sort of, Marvel poking fun at superhero fatigue and things like that, and they don't really touch on it. I don't remember many times where it was referenced as a point of as a bone of contention. If there was, it's been totally removed in the editing. But for me, I was expecting more commentary on superhero fatigue based on what I'd heard from, critics and people who had seen the show and blah blah blah. Anyway, this is a Marvel Spotlight show as well. The last Spotlight series we had was Echo, and so I think Spotlight is now going to become code for we don't know what to do with this show. We've made this show about a character that you probably aren't that familiar with. He's not one, they're not one of the big famous ones, but we've done a show, we've done a thing about them to highlight their abilities and how great they are. That's essentially what I think Spotlight is going to be synonymous for going forward. Like I said, the show think, okay, well, let's get into my overall thoughts of the show. I didn't hate it, actually. I didn't hate it at all, actually. And I think I liked it. And I say I think I liked it because it's very weird. Or it delves into the weird at times. It's very grounded, though. It's weird to have something so grounded and normal, you know, set in the very realistic, barely any superhero content in it. It's very un-Marvel in actual fact, in good and bad ways, or good in not so good ways. Because yeah, like you said, I think people are going to be going into it thinking they're going to see a superhero show. What they're going to see is essentially a version of the studio on Apple, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, that sort of insular, very Hollywood focused, bubbled show, again, for good or for bad, which is essentially glorifying how great it is to work in Hollywood, but also sort of delving into that it's actually not that great to work in Hollywood. So it sort of has its cake and eat it at times when it comes to, you know, Hollywood in general being quite a character in the show. And obviously you've got Simon Williams, who's a struggling actor, or an actor who can't get out of his own way. They say, or they stress, that he is a talented actor, but he's, because of his personality traits, which are very socially awkward, very insular, and there may be reasons for that which I won't go into, but essentially Yahya's portrayal of Simon Williams is a very socially awkward character, very quiet, very measured, but also, you know, very self-absorbed in some ways as well. His character actually, at times, especially in the first few episodes, I found quite annoying. But towards the end of the show, you sort of root for him to succeed in his endeavours. But that's the show. That's essentially the show without spoiling anything. Like I said, I've got into Sir Ben Kingsley's portrayal of I was going to say the Mandarin. He isn't the Mandarin, but it is quite important to know that he once was a portrayal of the Mandarin. Because they reference it quite a lot in the show, which they should, because it's part of the character's backstory. Like I said, my history with the character is someone I have not liked that portrayal at all. But I think this is the best version of that character, in my opinion, or the most likable. And the chemistry between Yahya and Sir Ben Kingsley is very, very good. I like their little bromance, their back and forths. It worked. Actually, it worked quite well, and actually, it was sort of symbiotic, because Yahya made Tony Slattery more likable, and Sir Ben Kingsley made Simon Williams more likable. It was a real sort of double-hander, in my opinion. I would say it's not the best Marvel show. I've seen lots of reviews varying from 5-star to 1-star about this show. So I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's fine. Like I said, it's not something I'm going to say is something you need to go out and watch. It's actually a very slow show. It's a very slow building show. It's very, like I said, grounded. Some people might watch it and say it's boring. I disagree with that, but at the same time, I'm not going to say it's must-watch TV. It's just like pleasant watch TV, you know. And you're sort of seeing a guy basically trying to make it in Hollywood. That's essentially what most of the show is. And like I said, they're remaking Wonder Man, which is obviously a comment or a meta, you know, on superhero, but they don't really go into it enough, and certainly not as what I thought they were going to go into, based on, you know, Brad Winderbaum's interviews and Dustin Daniel Cretton's sort of interviews and stuff. But none of that really. I didn't think they delved into it as much as they could have, or whether they did and stuff got lost in the editing room, I don't know. What else to say about it? The episode length, for me, I mean, each episode, there's 8 episodes, and they all dropped on the same day. I think that's probably a smart decision, because each episode is under 30 minutes long, if you count the runtime. It's like between 25 and, yeah, I'd say 25 minutes per episode is of things you get. But if you skip the recap, you skip the Disney Plus adverts, there's no intro sort of animation or anything, or theme song or anything. It just sort of starts, and it ends about 25 minutes in. So it's short and punchy episodes. You're in and you're out. I want to highlight episode 4 as one of the weirdest fever dreams I've ever seen. But certainly from Marvel. I didn't hate it, but I was, what is this? But I recommend you have to watch all the episodes, but episode 4 in particular, I would love to see people's reactions to what that is, because I didn't expect episode 4. That's crazy. And ultimately, when I come out of it, what do I think of the character going forward? Because, you know, so, do I want to see more of Simon Williams after Wonder Man? Yeah, I think I do, actually. Which is, I guess, the success of the show, is that you want to see this character more. There are shows that Marvel have done where that hasn't been the case, and that hasn't been the end result. It's like, well, I'd rather not see this character again because I really didn't like that portrayal, or the show let me down and didn't leave me with a pleasant feeling. Actually, for me, this show leaves me wanting more of Simon Williams, more of Tony Slattery, which I never thought I'd say, and more of DODC, which feature as a sort of semi-antagonist. The DODC from Spider-Man No Way Home, Ms. Marvel, I think they've featured in a couple of other projects. But yeah, basically Damage Control. Damage Control features every now and then as a sort of antagonist. I won't say what they're in the show to do, but you can probably put the dots together in terms of Simon Williams. So yeah, so I want to see more of that villain being a feature going forward. I think it sets itself up, Doomsday aside, which again is another elephant in the room when it comes to Marvel TV, I guess. You know, what goes in the films is sort of, you know, over there at the side. But the DODC, I think, could be a real featured antagonist when it comes to the mutant saga, because that's what I see. I think that's what they're edging towards with the, you know, the power sets in the MCU, the humans trying to rail in these enhanced abilities that are here, there, and everywhere, and monitoring threats that are, you know, that are perceived as sort of world enders, and that's sort of what the DODC is in the show to do. Anyway, that's sort of my thoughts of the show. Overall, I liked it. I think I liked it, and I don't have any negatives that sort of sour the show for me, other than it might be not for you, which is the only other comment I can say. It might not be for everybody. I have seen the sort of 4 and 5 star reviews from Hollywood reporters. Look, let's talk about critics. There's nothing critics like more, especially ones based in North America, in my opinion, than a show or a film about Hollywood and about filmmaking, or, you know, TV making, the process, the art form of. And so there, I think you've got to take the critics' opinions, as you should with mine, with a pinch of salt slightly, because that's sort of the angle they always take. I mean, you know, we've seen, look at, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and La La Land and all these other projects that sort of about the art of movie making and how great it is and how, you know, virtuous it is. And there's a little bit of that in here, but I think they also play the not so great about Hollywood as well. So they sort of have their cake and eat it, like I said before. Anyway, other than that, that's the show. It may not be for you, it's sort of my overall take, but I do want to see more of Wonder Man, more of Simon Williams, and it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see him mix it up with actual Avengers, you know, other superheroes, and see what that dynamic looks like. You know, maybe even a West Coast Avengers one day. Who knows? But that's my thoughts about Wonder Man. What did you think of the show? Have you seen it? Are you planning to see it? Because I think that may be up in the air for some people. Let me know in the comment section below. Please leave a like, subscribe on the channel as well. We're heading towards 5,000 subscribers somehow. Thank you so much for watching and subbing and liking the videos and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you thought about Wonder Man and Marvel TV in general. Daredevil Born Again is the next one that comes in a couple of months now, so I'm very much looking forward to that one. So that'll be the opposite, me very much looking forward to that one and maybe under delivering. But let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching and subscribing, and I'll speak to you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.